So when you want to assemble a new bookshelf or, I don't know, fix a leaky sink, you expect a manual, right?
Oh, absolutely. Give me step 1, step 2.
Yeah, you want step 1, step 2, step 3, and boom, you get a perfect, predictable result. It's safe.
It's entirely safe. I mean, we're basically conditioned to believe that if we just find the correct set of instructions and follow them to the letter, we are guaranteed the outcome we want.
Right. But then you look at how we try to navigate our actual lives, and that instruction manual mindset just completely falls apart.
It really does. It shatters.
Which brings us to today. Welcome to your deep dive. Today, our mission is to explore some incredibly powerful concepts from the text. The Gifts of Imperfection. We've got a whole stack of research here. We're going to unpack what it actually means to live a wholehearted life.
Yeah, and more importantly, how to stop hustling for our self-worth.
Exactly. Because if we're being honest with ourselves, we live in a society that is completely obsessed with how-to lists.
It's an obsession. And it's one that rarely pays off when we apply it to our internal lives. The source text makes this profound observation right up front about this. They call it the how-to trap. We try to life hack our way into feeling lovable, and it just doesn't work.
I mean, think about dieting or healthy eating. We know how to eat healthy.
Right. The information is all there.
Most of us can recite Weight Watchers points, or like the glycemic index of a banana, or our exact macros like it's the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, totally.
We have more information, more books, more peer-reviewed science at our fingertips than ever before in human history. Yet, statistically, we are more stressed, more in debt, and just more exhausted than ever. So why does having the manual fail us so spectacularly?
Well, because the manual ignores the reality of being human. The how-to fails because we've fundamentally refused to talk about the things that get in the way.
Like what?
Well, we desperately want the quick fix. We want the 5 easy steps to infinite joy, right? But to actually achieve that, we'd have to talk about the shame, the fear, and the vulnerability that block us from doing what we already know is best for ourselves.
And those topics are incredibly uncomfortable.
Extremely. People run from them.
So consider this your warning, I guess. This deep dive isn't going to be a quick fix list. We are venturing into the messy, vulnerable, and honestly absolutely necessary work of embracing imperfection. And the source text outlines some core tools for this journey: courage, compassion, and connection.
Which, on the surface, I know they sound like buzzwords you'd find on a corporate motivational poster.
Right, like a picture of a mountain at sunset.
Exactly, but the friction happens when you try to actually apply them in real moments of stress.
Okay, let's test that against a feeling you probably know intimately. Sheer exhaustion.
Oh, yes.
We all have what the author calls a dig deep button. It's Friday at 5 p.m., you are bone tired, your brain is foggy, but you smash that button to force yourself to push through.
Yep, just suck it up.
You suck it up just to do one more load of laundry or answer 3 more emails or, pretend you aren't completely overwhelmed for your kids.
It's a survival mechanism. We tap into that secret adrenaline-fueled reserve to perform imperfect things, and it's usually at the cost of our own well-being.
Always.
But the text offers a completely different methodology, redefining what it means to dig. It's actually an acronym.
Okay, what does it stand for?
Get deliberate, get inspired, and get going.
See, I'm trying to map that onto real life.
Yeah.
When I am that exhausted, finding inspiration sounds like more work. How does someone actually do that in the moment?
It requires a massive shift in intention. Instead of mindlessly pushing through to finish a chore, you get deliberate about your thoughts. You literally acknowledge, I am running on empty.
So just naming it.
Yes. Then you get inspired not by productivity, but by restorative choices. Maybe your inspiration is simply recognizing that resting is a valid choice.
Oh, wow.
And then you get going, meaning you take action on the restoration. You actually go lay down, or you call a friend.
So it's taking action on recovery rather than taking action on more output.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the author shares this incredible story to illustrate what happens when we lack these tools and default to our old defensive mechanisms. She calls it the gun for hire story.
This one is so rough.
It is. So she was invited to speak to a large elementary school parent-teacher organization. She walks in, totally unprepared for the environment, and the principal introduces her essentially like a WWE wrestler.
Oh, my God.
He's yelling at the parents saying, she's going to set us straight whether we like it or not.
Setting her up as the bad guy before she even opens her mouth.
Completely. She was essentially hired as a mercenary to tell parents to stop hovering in the classrooms, which was this hidden agenda she knew nothing about.
That's a nightmare.
Right. So she steps up to the mic, and the audience is furious. There's this guy in the front row with his arms crossed, veins popping, and he is loudly sighing, like performing this dramatic hump every 3 minutes.
The passive-aggressive sigh is lethal. So how does she react to that hostility?
Well, she panics. She completely abandons her authentic, vulnerable self and tries to win over the hostile guy in the front row. She starts talking faster and louder, quoting these terrifying statistics about children dropping out of school and doing drugs.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she trades her authenticity for approval in real time.
Hustling for her worthiness.
And it failed miserably. She fled to her car afterward in what she describes as a full-blown shame storm. Her face is hot, she feels tiny and exposed.
We've all been there.
Now, in those moments, the research shows the most dangerous thing you can do is hide. Shame needs secrecy to survive, but reaching out requires connecting with the right person.
Right, because if you dump a vulnerable story on the wrong person, they just make the shame worse. The text outlines 6 types of friends you have to avoid in a shame storm, right?
Oh.
Walk me through some of those, because I think everyone listening will recognize them.
Oh, they are highly recognizable. First, you have to avoid the friend who hears your story and actually feels shame for you. Oh, the gasper. Yes. They gasp, they cover their mouth, and suddenly the situation is so awkward that you find yourself comforting them.
You end up managing their emotions instead of processing your own. What else?
You also want to avoid the sympathizer. This is the friend who offers sympathy instead of empathy. The classic, oh, you poor thing, or the passive-aggressive, well, bless your heart.
Sympathy looks down from above. Empathy gets in the hole with you.
Exactly. Then there's the disappointed friend who is just upset because you shattered their illusion of your perfection. And the fixer who just wants to blame someone else. They want to track down the sighing guy at the PTO meeting and kick his butt rather than sitting with your pain.
So who is the right person to call?
The author called her sister. Her sister didn't try to fix it or blame anyone or act shocked. She just listened, tapped into her own messy experiences and said, oh man, that is so hard. I've done that dance. I hate that feeling.
Wow.
She offered true compassion.
Let's pause on that word. Compassion. When I hear that, my brain immediately translates it to like being super nice. Like you were endlessly forgiving, soft, and you just let people off the hook for everything.
Right.
But the text actually ties compassion to something extremely rigid. Boundaries.
It feels like a paradox, doesn't it? But the heart of compassion is acceptance. And it is mechanically impossible to accept people or be truly compassionate toward them if you are allowing them to constantly hurt you or take advantage of you. True compassion demands boundaries and accountability.
Give me a tangible example of that mechanism. How does holding a boundary equal compassion?
Well, the author highlights a corporate leader she worked with. This manager had 2 employees who consistently ignored project protocols.
Okay.
Instead of sitting them down, explaining the professional boundaries, and holding them accountable with formal warnings, this manager would just single them out and humiliate them in front of the whole team during meetings.
Yikes. Because actually enforcing a boundary takes administrative work and hard conversations. Shaming them in a meeting is just a lazy vent.
It is the lazy way out. When we shame people, instead of holding them accountable, we breed a toxic environment. And internally, we build up massive resentment.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You cannot practice compassion from a place of resentment. Compassion isn't about being a doormat. It's about being incredibly firm about what is and isn't okay so that you can safely remain kind.
But wait, if I start setting all these rigid boundaries, won't that push people away? Our most primal, hardwired human needs are love and belonging. Don't boundaries threaten that connection?
They only threaten artificial connection, which brings us to the absolute prerequisite for experiencing true love and belonging worthiness. The core thesis of this research is that worthiness has no prerequisites.
Meaning?
You are not worthy when you lose 20 pounds. You are not worthy if you get a promotion. You are worthy now.
That is so powerful.
Yeah.
Because I think so many of us treat worthiness like a frequent flyer status we have to earn.
Oh, absolutely.
We think if we just log enough miles of being agreeable, if we swipe our card enough times by doing what everyone else expects, we'll eventually get upgraded to the worthy lounge. And the primary way we try to earn those miles is by fitting in.
Which is a catastrophic strategy.
Tell me about it.
The distinction the text makes between fitting in and belonging is massive, even though we use the terms interchangeably all the time. Fitting in is an assessment. You walk into a room, a new job, or a social circle, you analyze what they want, and you change who you are to be accepted. It's chameleon behavior.
Which is exhausting because you're constantly monitoring your own performance.
Utterly exhausting. Belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. True belonging only happens when you present your authentic, unedited self to the world.
Right.
Therefore, fitting in is actually the greatest barrier to true belonging. Your sense of belonging can never exceed your level of self-acceptance.
Wow. That is a tough pill to swallow. Our sense of belonging caps out at our self-acceptance.
Yeah.
But that triggers a really provocative debate from the author's blog that was highlighted in the text. If it all starts with self-acceptance, what about the people who say, I love someone else more than I love myself? As a society, especially for parents, we are practically mandated to put ourselves last and say, we love our kids more than ourselves.
It sparked fury in the comments section because it challenges a very deeply held cultural script. But the text uses reader comments to deconstruct why this is a dangerous myth.
Okay, lay it out for me.
So a reader named Justin, who works with mothers struggling with severe drug addiction, provided a metaphor that shifts the entire paradigm. He noted that these addicted mothers genuinely believe they love their children more than themselves. They believe their kids are pure and lovable while believing they themselves are broken and unlovable.
They compartmentalize it. I am garbage, but my child is treasure.
Exactly. But Justin points out that their self-hatred functions mechanically like secondhand smoke. Yeah. The mothers might think their self-destructive behavior and internal loathing is only harming themselves, but they are unintentionally poisoning the exact environment their children are breathing in.
The secondhand smoke metaphor, you really can't unhear that.
No, you can't. Another reader, Renee, added to this, explaining that while our fierce love for others can be a catalyst, we ultimately have to wade into our own shadows. We can only process and offer love to others to the exact degree that we offer it to ourselves.
So it's literally a cap.
Right. If your internal monologue is full of disgust and harsh criticism, you set a hard ceiling on the love you can give your children or your partner.
Okay, so if the formula is that simple, accept yourself to find true belonging and deeply love others, why is it so terrifying to just be real? Why do we fight the cure?
Because standing in your truth exposes you to the ultimate roadblock. Shame.
Ah, the swampland of the soul. And this brings us to another story that perfectly illustrates how society actively encourages us to hide. I call it the light and breezy trauma. Walk us through what happened at this country club.
So, the author was invited to speak at a very swanky country club for a women's networking lunch. It's her first time speaking to a quote-unquote normal business audience, not a room full of academics.
Right.
She arrives, and the event organizer looks her up and down, reads her bio, and looks horrified. She asks, "You're a shame researcher. Do you study anything else?"
Like it's a dirty word.
Exactly. The author replies, "Fear and vulnerability." And the organizer just loses it. She explicitly tells her, "You are not going to talk about the things that get in the way. People want how to. Do not mention the word shame. People will be eating."
Keep it light and breezy.
Yes. The organizer is making these frantic, sweeping gestures with her hands. So the author gets on stage, completely paralyzed by this trigger, and she complies.
She caved?
She sacrificed her authenticity. She spends 40 minutes delivering this robotic, surface-level presentation about how joy is good, happy is so, so good, and the audience just smiled blankly and ate their chicken.
It's painful to hear, but it shows the mechanics of shame perfectly. It literally shuts our mouths.
It does.
But for the listener to fight this, we need to define the enemy properly. The research makes a massive distinction between shame and guilt. How do they operate differently?
It's the difference between behavior and identity. Guilt is the feeling of I did something bad. Shame is the feeling of I am bad.
So guilt is burning the dinner. Shame is telling yourself you are an inherently terrible partner because you burned the dinner.
Exactly. Guilt focuses on the action. It can actually be a highly positive motivator. If you realize your behavior doesn't align with your values, guilt drives you to apologize and repair the damage.
Right, that's productive.
But shame focuses on the self. It's the destructive, paralyzing fear of being fundamentally flawed and unlovable. And shame thrives in secrecy, silence, and judgment. When you bury a shaming experience, it metastasizes.
Even for the woman who literally wrote the book on it. Which leads us to the EGAD's photo email. Tell the story of what happened with our blog.
Yeah, so the author's blog was featured on a major hosting site, which drove a ton of new traffic. She receives an email from a new reader who starts off complimenting the design, but then drops a devastating little dig.
Oh.
She says the snap of you and your girlfriend in the theater would be the only exception EGADs. I would never add a bad photo to a blog, but I am the photographer here. and she ended it with a winky face.
The passive-aggressive winky face is a weapon of mass destruction.
Truly.
And the photo in question wasn't even meant to be professional. It was just a spontaneous, goofy selfie of her and a friend waiting for a movie to start. She was excited and posted it. So how did she react? Because the book notes, she immediately drafted 3 incredibly nasty, sarcastic email replies.
Why is meanness the default setting when we get poked?
Because meanness is a cheap shield. It requires absolutely zero courage to be cruel in response.
That is so true.
She was ready to go to war, but she stopped herself. She went for a run, called the friend from the photo, and analyzed what was actually happening. The vulnerability wasn't about her photography skills. All right, she wasn't actually offended as a photographer.
No, the shame was triggered because she had allowed herself to be spontaneous, open, goofy, and unpolished in a public forum, and someone mocked her for that specific vulnerability.
Oh, I see.
Her friend helped her realize that the courageous move was to simply let herself feel the hurt without lashing out. She had to name the shame. Saying, "I feel exposed and hurt," takes away its power.
Okay, so if shame is the disease that makes us build these walls and draft nasty emails, what is the actual daily practice for tearing them down?
The text points us toward 2 major guideposts: cultivating authenticity and cultivating self-compassion.
Yes.
Let's dig into guidepost 1, the audacity of authenticity.
Audacity is the perfect word because in our culture, choosing authenticity is an act of daily rebellion.
It really is. The text makes it clear that authenticity isn't a permanent state of being. You don't just wake up one Tuesday and declare, "I am now an authentic person forever."
Right, it doesn't work like that. It's an ongoing conscious practice of letting go of who we think we are supposed to be. And that is incredibly difficult because society pushes back. The author calls this pushback the gauntlet of gremlins.
Those are the internal and external voices whispering, "Who do you think you are?" or "What will people think if you do that?"
Yes, and the text highlights how this specifically operates through cultural scripts, particularly for women, though, it affects everyone. The expectation to be thin, accommodating, and modest means that if you want to play it safe, you have to shrink yourself.
You really do.
Being loud, voicing an unpopular opinion, or just being messy makes people uncomfortable. But when you trade your authenticity for that false sense of safety, you are essentially brewing a recipe for anxiety and depression.
Which leads directly into guidepost 2. When we're trying to navigate that gauntlet of judgment, we often pick up a tool to protect ourselves, perfectionism, or, as the text brilliantly visualizes it, a 20-ton shield.
We really need to dissect this because people brag about being perfectionists. We confuse it with healthy striving. What is the mechanical difference?
Okay, so healthy striving is internally focused. It asks, how can I improve? How can I grow? Perfectionism is entirely externally focused. It asks, what will they think?
Wow. It's the ultimate hustle for approval.
It is the belief that if we live perfectly, look perfectly, and execute everything flawlessly, we can magically avoid the pain of blame, judgment, and shame.
But we can't.
No. It is a 20-ton shield we drag around every single day. We exhaust ourselves carrying it, convinced it's protecting us, when in reality, it's just preventing us from being truly seen. Perfectionism is the root cause of life paralysis. It's the graveyard of all the dreams we never pursue because we are terrified of failing publicly.
So how do we actually put that heavy shield down? The text points us to the foundational work of Dr. Kristen Neff on self-compassion. And I love this because she breaks it down into 3 actionable elements.
Yes, they're so helpful.
First is self-kindness, actively being warm and understanding to yourself when you fail, rather than flagellating yourself. Second is common humanity, recognizing that suffering and inadequacy are part of the shared human experience, not an isolated flaw unique to you. The third element, this one blew my mind, mindfulness.
Dr. Neff's specific application of mindfulness here is an absolute game changer for anyone struggling with perfectionism.
It completely flips the definition. Usually we're told mindfulness just means feeling your feelings or being present. But here, it specifically means not over-identifying with your emotions.
Right.
It means not letting a single negative event fuse with your identity and sweep you into a spiral. There's a great example in the text regarding an email typo, right?
Yes. The author was emailing a highly respected writer to ask for permission to quote her, and she accidentally misspelled the famous writer's name in the body of the email.
Oh no, a classic, heart-dropping perfectionist nightmare.
Completely.
The immediate reaction is to over-identify. I'm a sloppy hack. She thinks I'm an idiot. I am unprofessional. I ruin everything.
Exactly. The action, a typo, becomes the identity, a hack. But by utilizing mindfulness and self-compassion, she was able to observe the feeling without becoming it.
How so?
She pulled back and told herself, "Be kind to yourself. You made a mistake. It is not a defining moment." She interrupted the shame spiral before it gained momentum, catching that spiral, acknowledging the common humanity that everyone sends emails with typos, and offering yourself grace is the daily medicine.
We have covered so much critical ground today, and I want to bring it all back to you, the listener, and your daily life. We started by looking at the sheer exhaustion of smashing that dig deep button, just surviving the burnout. We explored the mechanics of how the desperate hustle to fit in actually blocks you from finding true belonging.
Yeah, that's huge.
We waded into the swampland of shame, learning how it silences our authentic voices. And we found the antidote: the daily, rebellious practices of courage, authenticity, and self-compassion.
It truly is a journey of transition. You have to move from constantly asking, "What will people think?" to firmly declaring, "I am enough as I am." And you simply cannot make that transition while wearing armor.
I couldn't agree more. And that brings us to the end of our outline, but before we go, I know you had a final thought regarding that armor that you wanted to leave the listener with.
Yes. We spend unimaginable amounts of energy every single day carrying around that 20-ton shield of perfectionism. We are absolutely terrified of what will happen if we put it down and expose our true selves to the world. But I want you to ask yourself this as you go about your week. If you finally drop that massive, exhausting weight today, what incredible things would your hands suddenly be free to pick up?
Wow. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. See you next time.